2 months. That's how long it had been since my marriage ended. 60 days since I watched the woman I once called my forever walk away without a glance back. My apartment still smelled faintly of her perfume, jasmine and something bittersweet. Every morning, I'd wake up expecting to see her in the kitchen, hair tied up, humming that same old tune as she poured coffee. But the only thing that greeted me now was silence. Heavy, suffocating silence that reminded me of every word left unsaid, every promise broken. I thought I had seen the worst of it. The kind of pain that rips a man from the inside out. The kind that makes you question if love was ever real or just a cruel illusion. I buried myself in work, avoided calls, stopped meeting friends. I told everyone I was fine. But deep down, I wasn't. I was broken in ways I couldn't explain. And then, 2 months after the divorce, someone knocked on my door. It was late evening. The sky outside was painted in shades of gold and gray, the kind of evening that makes you nostalgic without knowing why. I wasn't expecting anyone. When I opened the door, my breath caught in my throat. It was her sister, Alina. For a moment, I thought my mind was playing tricks on me. The same eyes, the same soft features. She looked so much like my ex-wife, but there was something different too. A quiet strength in her gaze. She stood there with a small suitcase in hand, her hair damp from the rain, her lips trembling slightly as if she'd been rehearsing what to say but forgot all the words the moment I appeared. "Can I come in?" she asked softly. I hesitated. My instinct screamed no, too many memories, too much pain. But something about the way she said it, fragile yet desperate, made me step aside. She walked in slowly, glancing around as if the walls themselves carried echoes of her sister's laughter. And maybe they did. "What are you doing here, Alina?" I finally managed to ask. She placed her suitcase down and turned to me. I didn't know where else to go. There was silence again. I could hear the faint ticking of the clock, the hum of the refrigerator. Then she looked up at me and I saw tears welling up in her eyes. "She's getting married again," Alina whispered. My heart stopped. For a few seconds I just stood there, not breathing, not thinking. My ex-wife, getting married again? It had only been 2 months. 2 months since we tore each other apart. 2 months since she swore she'd never love again. I sank onto the couch, trying to process it. "I don't understand," I muttered. Alina sat down across from me. "Neither do I. She met someone right after the divorce. Mom and Dad are forcing it. She doesn't want it, but she's doing it anyway." I felt a bitter laugh escape my throat. "She made her choice, Alina." She walked away. "She didn't have a choice," Alina said, her voice breaking. "You think she wanted to leave? You think she wanted to destroy everything you two built? There were things you didn't know." I looked at her sharply. "Like what?" She hesitated, biting her lip. "She told me not to say anything. But maybe it's time you knew. Maybe you deserve to know." I leaned forward, my pulse quickening. "Tell me." Alina's eyes filled with pain. "She left because she thought she was protecting you." The words hit me like a punch to the chest. Protecting me from what? I had spent months blaming her, replaying every fight, every tear. I couldn't understand how love that deep could vanish overnight. And now, this? Alina looked down, her hands trembling. "She found out something about your company. Someone was trying to frame you for fraud. She got caught in the middle. She was threatened." I blinked in disbelief. "That doesn't make sense. Why wouldn't she tell me?" "She thought if she stayed, they'd come after you. They made her choose on your safety or your marriage. She chose you." My chest tightened. The air in the room felt heavy. "You're lying." "I wish I was," she whispered. "She told me everything the night she left. I begged her to tell you, but she said you'd never let her go if you knew the truth. She cried all night. She still loves you, you know. She just doesn't believe she deserves you anymore." I stood up, pacing the room, my heart in chaos. The anger I'd held for months began to crumble into confusion and regret. All this time I had thought she was selfish, when in reality she was saving me. "Why are you telling me this now?" I asked quietly. "Because she's giving up," Alina said, her voice shaking. "And I can't watch that happen. I thought maybe if you knew, you'd stop her. Maybe you'd remind her that love doesn't end just because life gets cruel." I looked at her, and for the first time, I saw not just her resemblance to her sister, but something else. Compassion, courage, and sadness that mirrored my own. "She's getting married in 3 days," Alina added. If you still love her, this is your last chance. The words echoed in my head. 3 days. I sat down again, my hands gripping my hair. My world felt upside down. Everything I thought I knew, every reason I told myself to move on, was gone. Alina got up slowly and walked toward the door. "I'll find somewhere to stay tonight," she said softly. "I just needed to tell you." But before she could step out, I called after her. "Stay here." She froze. "It's late," I said. "You shouldn't be out there alone." For a moment, she looked uncertain, as if she wasn't sure whether it was pity or kindness. But then she nodded quietly. "Thank you." That night, as she settled into the guest room, I sat alone on the balcony staring at the city lights. The rain had stopped, but my heart hadn't. Memories came flooding back, her laughter, her warmth, the way she'd rest her head on my shoulder and say, "Promise me you'll never stop believing in us." I had broken that promise the moment I let bitterness take over. Now 2 months later, her sister was sleeping under my roof, carrying truths that could change everything. And for the first time in weeks, I didn't feel numb. I felt alive, scared, hopeful. As the night grew quiet, I made a silent vow. I would find her. I would make her tell me the truth. And if there was even a fragment of love left between us, I wouldn't let it die this time. But what I didn't know then was that the next morning would change everything again. Because when I woke up, Alina was gone, and in her place was a letter that would shatter me all over again. The next morning, sunlight broke through my half-closed blinds, slicing across the room in thin golden lines. For a moment, I thought maybe everything that happened last night had just been a dream. That Alina's knock, her tears, her words were all part of some cruel fantasy my lonely heart had conjured. But when I turned toward the guest room, the door was wide open. The bed was neatly made. The suitcase was gone. Only a single envelope lay on the pillow. My name written in neat, trembling handwriting. "For you before I disappear." My hands shook as I picked it up. I tore it open slowly, every heartbeat echoing in my chest like a drum. Inside was a letter, unfolded twice, the ink slightly smudged as if written through tears. "She never stopped loving you." That was the first line. And with that, my world began to tilt again. "I'm sorry for coming to you. I wasn't supposed to. But when I saw how broken you looked, I couldn't stay silent. You deserved the truth. My sister didn't leave because she wanted to. She left because someone made her believe you would lose everything. Your business, your name, even your freedom, if she didn't walk away. They showed her fake documents, threats, bank records, everything. She believed it. And when she tried to protect you, she got trapped in something darker." I stopped reading for a moment. My throat was dry, my eyes burning. "The man she's marrying, he's part of it. The one who framed you. She doesn't love him, she's terrified of him. He promised that if she marries him, you'll be left alone. That's why she agreed. That's why she's pretending." I gripped the paper so tightly it nearly tore. Alina continued. "Last night, after telling you the truth, I realized I put her in danger by coming here. They've been watching her, and me. I have to disappear before they find out. But please don't go after her yet. If you do, they'll hurt her. There's a way to expose them. Proof hidden where you both used to go when you wanted peace. She left something there for you. Find it before the wedding. It's the only way to save her and yourself." At the bottom, one final line. "Love doesn't die, it hides, waiting for courage to find it again." And then, Alina, I sat there for a long time, staring at the letter, every word slicing through the fog in my heart. The anger, the confusion, the guilt, all of it melted into one fierce emotion, resolve. I knew exactly where to go. There was a small lake outside the city. Our place. The spot where we had first said "I love you," where we dreamed of our future, where we promised to always come back when lie got hard. I hadn't been there since the divorce. But that morning I drove like a man possessed. The sky was heavy with clouds, wind sharp and restless, as if the world itself knew something was about to change. When I reached the lake, the air was thick with silence. The water shimmered faintly under the gray sky. I walked toward the old oak tree where we had once carved our initials, and there, tucked into the hollow, was a small brown envelope wrapped in plastic. Inside were documents, photos, and a USB drive. Bank transfers, email trails, voice recordings, all pointing to one name, the man she was about to marry. It was undeniable proof. He had used her, manipulated her, blackmailed her, and framed me to cover his own crimes. I clenched my fists. My heart was pounding, not from fear, but from something stronger. Purpose. That night I called an old friend in the cybercrime unit. We spent hours going through the evidence, building a case. When morning came, the police were ready. And so was I. 3 days later, the day of her wedding, I stood outside the Grand Hotel where it was being held. I could hear the music, the laughter, the hollow celebration of something built on lies. My hands were trembling, but not with doubt, with determination. When she stepped out into the hall dressed in white, my heart almost stopped. She looked radiant, but her eyes were empty. She didn't see me at first. She was walking like someone on autopilot, heading toward a future she didn't choose. Then our eyes met. Time froze. Her lips parted slightly, shock, fear, and then liquor of something deeper. Hope. I stepped forward. "I know the truth," I said, loud enough for the crowd to turn. "You don't have to do this." The groom turned pale. He tried to speak, but at that very moment officers burst through the doors. The hall erupted in whispers and gasps. The man was dragged away, shouting threats that no longer mattered. The proof had been delivered. Justice was catching up. She stood there, trembling, tears streaming down her cheeks. "I told you not to come," she whispered as I approached. "And let you destroy yourself for me?" I said softly. "Never again." For a moment, she just stared. Then she collapsed into my arms, sobbing. The weight of 2 months of silence breaking between us. "I thought I'd lost you," she choked. "You never did," I murmured. "You only forgot how much you meant to me." Around us people were murmuring, cameras flashing, but none of it mattered. The noise faded, replaced by the sound of her heartbeat against mine, the sound I had missed for far too long. When everything settled, after the statement, the police, the chaos, we found ourselves back at that lake. The same place where our love began, the same place where it had been tested. She sat beside me quietly, the sunset painting her face in soft gold. "I thought love was supposed to be easy," she said. I smiled faintly. "Real love never is, but it's the only thing worth fighting for." She looked at me, eyes full of tears and peace. "Thank you for believing in me." I reached for her hand. "Thank you for protecting me even when it broke you." We sat in silence, the kind that doesn't hurt anymore, the kind that heals. The wind rustled through the trees, carrying away the last pieces of pain that had once defined us. Maybe that's what love truly is, and not the fairy tale. Not the perfection, but the courage to begin again after the storm. And as the first stars appeared in the darkening sky, I whispered, "Welcome home." She smiled, a real unguarded smile, and for the first time in months, I knew I wasn't lost anymore.